What's going on, guys? So this video is for those of you who maybe you want to become an entrepreneur this week. Maybe you want to become an entrepreneur in a couple months. Maybe you want to become an entrepreneur later on in your life. Whatever the case may be, this video is for you. I'm going to make it for motivational purpose so that you can get some insight, so that you can think about it and see if it's for you or maybe it's not for you. Okay? Because I remember back when I wanted to quit my job and I was just at that point where I hated it. I hated it. I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't do it. I was like, no, I can't do this. This is not for me. I refuse. When I was in that point, I would watch this video from, you guys probably know him, Steph is Cold. But when I'd watch that video, I would rewatch it over and over. Man, shout out to Steph is Cold. If you ever watch this, man, I respect what you're doing. But I remember I used to rewatch this video. It's like, I would just type in Steph is Cold entrepreneurship, because I know I had seen some of his videos on entrepreneurship, and they just hit a certain part, and I could relate. I'm like, man, he would be talking about, I can't work a job because of, I can't be taking orders from some boss. And man, that's exactly how I felt, right? Because I would wake up and I would think, I'm waking up in the morning, driving to a place that I hate, to be told what to do by somebody that is not better than me in any way. Most of the managers were out of shape, fat, sloppy. And it's like, this is the guy who's giving me orders? This guy right here? Like, I have no problem. Back in the day when I had this one manager, shout out to him, he was in shape. He had a good mindset. He knew how to deal with people. He knew how to manage people. He was not very emotional. He was very, I would say, stoic. I would say he was very stoic. He was on point always. And I respected that, man. If I respect you, I have no problem. If I'm an employee, I have no problem following the orders that you give me, because at the end of the day, if I'm working a job, I got to understand that's just what comes with it, right? So at the time, I had no problem with that. But once it started to get into bad management, like they had this one woman, that was quite frankly horrible at the job as far as managing people, because the thing about having a woman as a manager is they're going to get all emotional. Well, I'm not going to generalize, but from my experience, right? Maybe there's some woman out there who's a great manager, maybe. But from my experience, any job that I've worked with a woman who's, a manager, usually they feel petty because women are more emotional. So they hold little petty grudges. But then again, I've also had men who are my managers who were sloppy, and they were also emotional as well. For some reason, they had it out against me, right? It was never the guys who were on point, respectable, on time, knew how to be a good leader. Those guys respected me. It was always the sloppy guys that for some reason they didn't like me, right? And I know why. We all know why. Because when someone doesn't like you, when someone is hating on you, it's because something about you, they don't like it. They almost feel like, your competition, like you can take their spot. For example, the 48 laws of power, what's the first law? Never outshine the master. So I understood that law very well. And at the beginning, I was messing up a little bit because I wasn't following that law. I would be like, man, I'm not taking orders from these guys. I'm not taking orders from these guys who are out of shape, sloppy. They don't know how to conduct, good business. They don't know how to manage people without putting their emotions to the side. So in that moment, I wouldn't want to take orders from these guys because I couldn't respect it. So I was breaking that law by not, understanding that you got to kind of feed their ego a little bit, because when someone's your manager, they want to be the boss. They want to tell you what to do, right? Unless there's someone who is just a good leader, right? Like if I'm a manager, I understand that we're all equal, but I'm simply just the one in charge, and I just have to make sure that I'm the proper leader, and I lead by example. I show up on time. I'm disciplined. I make sure that I'm always well groomed. I make sure I dress nice. So these are the qualities of a good leader. But the 40 laws of power: never outshine the master. What you got to understand is, if you're working a job, listen, say, hey, boss, how you doing, boss? Boss, hey, boss, right? They love that shit. Why? Because it feeds their ego. They're like, oh, my goodness, yes, that's right, I'm the boss. But I can't do that, man. I can't do it. And so that's when I really started to watch these videos on entrepreneurship, and I started looking into it, and I'm like, I always knew that entrepreneurship was for me. And if that's something that you feel deep down inside, you got to be ready to take the risk. You got to be ready to commit all the way, right? Because entrepreneurship is not something that you can do half time, part time. Entrepreneurship, if you want to be someone who succeeds at entrepreneurship, you got to be someone who is committed to it. It has to be something that you love. The reason why I did it is because I love the freedom. I love understanding that I'm in charge, because I trust in myself instead of trusting in someone who is out of shape, sloppy. They don't know how to manage things. They're quite frankly not good leaders, right? Because what happens in most jobs is they put someone there who is just been at the job for a long time, as opposed to someone who is truly interested in leadership. I'm interested, and I know I was born to be a leader, and I read into these type of topics. I read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, so I understand how to deal with people. But most of the managers, when you work a job, they don't do any of that. They've just been at the job for a long time, but they don't know how to be a proper leader, right? So if you want to be an entrepreneur, don't think that it's going to be, oh, I'm quitting the 9 to 5. So now I get to work 3 hours, 2 hours a day. No, that's not how it works. You actually work more. Why? Because especially if you're the boss, if you're an entrepreneur, nobody is going to give you leads. Nobody is going to generate business for you. You're not going to wake up and there's going to be a schedule out for the day, and you're not going to walk into a job and everything is going to be laid out for you. This is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do. No, you have to figure it all out on your own. So entrepreneurship is not for the weak. Entrepreneurship will make you a man real quick. If you're not a man yet, guess what? When you get into entrepreneurship, it'll either make or break you. You either step up to the plate or you fold. It's up to you. What type of man are you? I'm not going to fold. I'm not going to break. At the end of the day, I understand that entrepreneurship is a way of life. It's understanding that I'm going to go into this. I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to generate business. I'm going to make this my life. To wake up. Because the thing about entrepreneurship is nobody's going to motivate you. If you want to be the boss, you better not think that anybody's going to motivate you. Because if you're the boss, you don't have a commitment to go in to work at 3 o'clock today, right? You make your own schedule, but it has its pros and cons. When you make your own schedule and you're the boss, you have to be self-motivated. You have to be self-disciplined, because nobody's telling you, hey, you have to go into work today. You have to wake up, even on the days where you don't feel like working. And on those days, you still have to go. You still have to get it. You still have to get after it. You still have to grind. Nobody's there to tell you, come on, buddy, get up. Come on, buddy, go to work. No, you have to tell yourself that. So I'm going to touch in on the topic of, how does it feel when you're about to take that risk? When you're about to take that risk, if you've never done it, it's going to feel, you're going to have a little bit of doubt, right? Because if you were anything like myself, who I worked jobs for a long time, and, being so used to that 2-week paycheck, that's the reason why people stay at jobs, because of the security, how comfortable it is. Even though you don't like it, even though you hate it, it's comfortable. It's secure. You know that in 2 weeks, you're going to get paid either $1,000, either $2,000, or whatever you get paid every 2 weeks, right? You know that check is coming in. When you accept the responsibility of becoming an entrepreneur, there is no guarantee. So of course, it's going to feel, you're going to have this feeling in your stomach like, am I making the right decision? But what if I fail? But what if it doesn't work out? But what if? But if this is the route you want to take, you have to accept it. You have to say, listen, I'm going all in. I'm going to succeed at this. When you have that mindset, when your back is against the wall and the safety net is removed from under you and no one is going to push you, no one's going to help you, you have to get it all on your own. It all depends on you. It's going to be a heavy load to carry. But if you're that motherfucker who can handle it, then you're that motherfucker who can handle it. I know I'm that motherfucker who can handle it. So even though that little bit of doubt creeped in, I said, fuck that. I believe in myself. You have to have self-belief. You got to be ready to grind every day. You got to be ready to get up and motivate yourself and have the self-talk of a winner. Telling yourself, come on, let's go. Let's get it. Come on, get up. This all depends on you. This all depends on you. Think about how much you hate your job. Anytime that you don't feel motivated, think about how much you hate your job. And if you're someone who wants to do it, my best recommendation is to have a safety net, right? Because you can go into it without a safety net, but it's a big mistake that a lot of people make, right? Because why? Because if it's something that you haven't been building on the side and it's something that you're going to go into all the way and you have no safety net, there is no guarantee. And self-belief is great, but the bills got to be paid at the end of the day. So self-belief is great, but you also got to be a responsible adult. If you're not living at your parents' house, you are the man of the house, then guess what? There is no guarantee. The bills still got to be paid. So the best thing to do is build up a few months of expenses. That's the best route to take. That's a mistake that, a lot of people who are getting into entrepreneurship make, and I wouldn't recommend it. My best recommendation is to make sure you build something on the side to where it can replace your income. So that okay, this will for sure hold me over. I will make sure that I match my income. So if you're getting paid $1,000, work on your business on the side, on your days off, on the hours that you're not working. Work on it on the side. If you're truly passionate about it, work on it until you see, okay, I'm getting paid $1,000 every 2 weeks. Let me make sure I can get paid $1,000 over here. Let me make sure I can generate at least $1,000 every 2 weeks. And now you're good to go. Once you know that you can match that, after you can scale it, you can continue pushing, you can scale it. But going into it without the guarantee that you're going to make any money, without knowing if you're built for it or not, is a big mistake. And you will find out very quickly that it can be a big mistake, right? Because time is of the essence. Time is going to be always pressuring you, right? If you don't have that safety net, it's going to be a lot of pressure. And the biggest ceiling to all entrepreneurs is stress tolerance. You will be stressed for a while. If you're not, if you don't know exactly what to do, you're going to have this stress. But when you start to adopt that stress, you start to understand that this is the new load that I have to carry, right? Because back in the day when you're working a job 9 to 5, you don't have that much stress. Why? Because you know what you're going to get paid. But when you're building your business, you're an entrepreneur, that stress is going to be something that you just have to adopt. You have to say this is the new level of stress. And eventually you get used to managing that stress. You learn to manage it. And then eventually that load that was once This is why it makes you stronger, because that load that was once so heavy is now becoming lighter. And if you want to get to the next level, you have to adopt a new level of stress. This is with everything in life, but especially in entrepreneurship, you have to learn how to handle stress, how to manage your own mind. Because if you're someone who cannot manage your own mind, you cannot manage your own emotions, you cannot motivate yourself, you cannot be disciplined, then you are going to break. It's that simple. It's not for you. If that's you, it's not for you. Either level up or you get out the game. But do you want to be told what to do for the rest of your life? Do you want to be told, hey, do this, hey, do that, by someone who you hate, a manager that you hate, a job that you hate, and understanding that they have the power over you to take away your income? If they don't like you, if your manager doesn't like you, they could just fire you. And then what, right? You have bills to pay. And then what? If your manager just fires you, now you have no source of income. So that should be a big motivation for you in understanding that, okay, maybe entrepreneurship is the route that I want to take. Maybe it is what I want to do with my life, because I don't want to be at a place where at any moment they could just, some random manager comes in, they don't like me, and they can fire me just because. Is that what you want for the rest of your life? I'm not saying entrepreneurship is going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. But if you're the person who you know you're built for that, you know you're called to be a leader, you know you're meant for more, then guess what? Entrepreneurship might just be for you. And if you're not getting into entrepreneurship 100%, I highly recommend you get a sales job. Why? Because a sales job is the closest thing that you will get to feeling like an entrepreneur. Why? Because in a sales job, if you're not getting paid hourly and you're strictly on commission, it's all on you. It's almost the same thing, right? If you're working at a car dealership, or you're working at somewhere where, you have to sell in order to make money, it's almost like being an entrepreneur. It's what they call an intrapreneur, meaning you're working underneath somebody, but you're almost your own boss, right? But the only difference is they've already built this establishment. They already give you the leads. They already tell you what to do for the day. As an entrepreneur, you don't have that. But I recommend every young guy to get a sales job, because sales is the only thing that you can make as much money as you work. If you work harder, you make more money. If you work at the same level, you make the same amount of money. And it's a game that I believe everyone, look at this. I literally have books everywhere on selling. Why? Because when you start to understand that sales is not only just to make money, it's a way of life. Everything. This camera, someone sold it. Someone did the advertisement. Someone sold it. This lamp, someone sold it. This monitor, someone sold it. Everything is selling. Whether you're trying to get that woman, whether you're trying to get that job, whether you're trying to sell someone to make some money, everything is sales. Everything is talking and putting words together in a way to get people to see the value in what it is that you have to offer. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, understand you're going to have doubts at first, but if you have self-belief that overpowers that doubt, it might just be for you. You have to learn sales, because selling is the blood of every single business. There is no business that does not have sales. Even McDonald's, you might think, oh yeah, it's a fast food. No, they're selling. They just have built it to a point where it sells itself almost, right? People see the nice advertisement. They say, I'm going to go buy it. But at the end of the day, they were still sold on whatever it is that they ordered. All right, guys, if you want a part 2 to entrepreneurship and you want to learn more about it, leave me a comment down below. If you have any questions, drop them down below. And I got you. Like the video, comment down below, and subscribe. Peace out.